Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. I'm lacking hair on my head and on my face, and I know it's weird, but hopefully you'll get used to it. Welcome. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about code today. So the plan is to talk about JavaScript array methods. We're going to talk about find, indexOf, and filter. And then we're going to play some Clash of Code. Yeah. Yeah, my mustache is still there. But other than that, I've shaved my face. The thing is, I'm contemplating shaving my mustache off, which I haven't done in like 6 years. I've had a mustache for the past 6 or so years. Oh, maybe 7 years. Yeah, I don't know, but welcome in, everyone. Glad to have you here. It's just a fresh start. Yeah, that's why I shaved my head, because I can just grow it out again. Yeah. Oh, congrats, Automagic. You've been working part-time and just graduated. And now you're a full-time software dev. Nice. Glad to hear it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, let's say hello to everybody. Who is this guy? It's me. It's still me. I swear it's me. But let's say hello to everybody and thank a few people for their supports. Godliness with the Prime sub when I wasn't streaming. Appreciate that. Default GM with the 9 months. Wicked Envy with the 2 months. And Sound of Gaming with the 16 months. Thank you very much for the supports. I was going to make a joke about being CJ's evil twin, but it's just me. Welcome in, first timers, by the way. All of you, this is the first message you've ever sent in the chat, and I appreciate you for being here. We got Z Slacks, who's been writing some C programming in the chat. I don't know if they have like a bot that tries to compile C programs or something like that, but welcome, Z Slacks. Nia Juman, hello, and Izmir, and Kav Hekarami, and Shorty and Smarty, what's up, and Hamza, and Demius, and Nephew, welcome in. I don't think I even finished the first season of Stranger Things. I watched a bit of it, but never finished it. And then let's say hi to everybody. If you'd like me to say hello to you or acknowledge you in the chat, you can say hi, hello, hey, yo, cheers, greetings, hiya, sup, what's up, morning, afternoon, evening, howdy, good day, coding hiyo, vohiyo, or bogahay. Say any one of those things, and I will acknowledge you. I'll say hi right back. And we're going to go back in time to 13 minutes ago when Coding Garden Fan was the very first person to say hello in the chat. And they've been hanging around the channel for a while now. Can I do something like click on their name? Do I have to do like user? There we go. Yeah, they've been following since March of 2021. They have a really cool username, so I VIP'd them. So everyone, throw a heart emote at Coding Garden Fan. We appreciate them. What's up, Staskly Minko? Welcome in. And C-Slacks again, hello, what's up, the Phantom, and Hache, and Drop Mania, and Nia Juman, and Crypt, and Izmir, and Mark, and One Production, and Moma Lab, and Wicked Envy, and Win320 Day. It's been a while since you've been in the chat. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you're back too. What's up, Dynamic Voyage, and Fritaz, and Excalo, and Kave Karimi, and ZRT, and Zevly, and Automagic. Congrats again to Automagic. Hello, Demius, and AOK. Welcome in. What's up, okay, not now, and The Log, and Justin Tab, and Kabanks, and Veritatas, and Adrian89, and Rucha, and Mark Boots, who says, don't acknowledge me. Okay, I will not acknowledge you, Mark Boots. What's up, Meister Uguay, and Suvix, and Drixstan. Hello. Is this my 11 cosplay? Are you saying because I have a bald head? Come on. But it actually is relevant, though, because I am going to be cosplaying today as Gyu from Demon Slayer. Because today is Pop Culture Con, formerly known as Comic-Con here in Denver. This show I need to find like the wiki. And then the list of characters. Where's Giyu? Oh, there he is. I'm only sort of dressing up him. I have, I think those are called Haori, the jacket thingy. I have that. I'm going to be wearing that. Cool. What's up, Default GN and Oxdow and Issa Hussein? Hello. What's up, JZ Chaos? And I'm in Dive and Macaroni Pizza Pie and Steak and Pishkocher. Hello from the Netherlands. Welcome in. What's up, the She-Boss and Sovak? And yeah, welcome in. Glad to have you. It's been 2 weeks. Yeah, I didn't stream last week. Yeah, I did not stream last Friday because I was busy. But Shorsey Web, thank you for the 24 months. The Bite Pusher with the 20 months. And the She-Boss with the 24 months as well. Thank you so much for all the support. Cool. Yeah, I guess let's get into it. So I do just want to do like a quick thing on JavaScript array methods. And I think I'm going to start with this one. And Nookie Poo, thank you for the 5 gifted as well. Wow. I haven't tried the TikTok API. I didn't know they had an API. But 1270013,000, hello. Oh, I get it. Localhost 3000. I get it. Welcome in. What's up, Electrothermal? Hello. And Ryan. Today is Canada Day? Well, happy Canada Day to you. What's up, Nikki Boo? Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about these, and I'm going to implement them from scratch. So first I'm going to talk about what they do, and then implement them from scratch. And yeah, that is the plan. We'll like sort of maybe turn this into a YouTube video. And I was thinking we could do JavaScript array methods of the day on a more regular basis. So maybe we just do indexOf and we do find. Because there's also like find index. And then filter is somewhat related, but not really. We're just going to do these 3. Yeah. And Pond Garden, hello. I'll save like things like reduce and reduce right for a different episode. This one's going to be more basic. I'm just going to do these methods. Let's do the ones no one uses. I use these all the time. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I guess includes would probably be good. All of these are about finding things. Right? Does JavaScript have is left or is right? Where what in what context would you use that? The app method is not really a search method. All of these are search methods. But at will literally just give you the element at that given index. Last index of? Let's look up array methods on MDN. Localhost is asking about suggestions for interviews. What do you mean? Like, what should you be studying for interviews? There is a last index of. I like it. Because about the question, what should you be studying for interviews? It really depends. It depends on what industry you're in. It depends on the kind of companies you're applying to. Yeah. And what's up, Spanky? I cut all of my hair off. I buzzed it. Oh, that's true. At will take negative indices. So that's fun. All right, these are the ones I'm going to talk about. Let's do it. Content? Yeah, I guess so. The thing is, we recorded content videos last stream, but I haven't been able to publish them on YouTube yet just because I have so many more other old live streams that I'm still trying to upload to YouTube. But yeah. Let's talk about these. Oh yeah, and check out my cool shirt. If you do ! merch in the chat, you can go to our Teespring and get this cool black JS logo t-shirt. Well, welcome, Wicked NB. Yeah, merch.coding.garden. We'll take you here, and you will see, I guess if you scroll, you'll see it. This shirt. This is the shirt that I'm wearing. It's got a black JS logo, but then down here, if you can see it, is a little Coding Garden logo. Okay. Let's get into it. But before that, localhost 3000 says, what issue should I focus on? Yeah, it really depends. It depends on what kind of company you're going to be applying to, how they run their interview process. Because some companies will do like very algorithm-heavy interviews. Other companies might do more like practical, hands-on type interviews. So it depends. It really depends. Let's get into it. I guess I will do a focus mode. And Chad, thank you for the tier 1 sub. 26 months. That's the longest in the chat today. But thank you, Chad. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the resub. Okay. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. In this episode, we're going to talk about some array search methods built into the array prototype in JavaScript. So the first one we're going to talk about is indexOf. So let's say, for instance, we had a numbers array that had these values inside of it, and we wanted to find the index of the first element that matches the given thing that we're looking for. So let's say we want to find the index of 3. If we were to log out numbers.indexOf3, that'll give us the index, which in this case is 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. So 2 should be the index that we get. So if we start up Quokka, we run this code, we get back 2. That's great. And so if we say index of 1, we get back 0 because that's the 0th index. So it's a really useful method to find the index of a given element. Now, if there were multiple of the same element, you're going to get the very first index of it. So even if I added more 1, 2, 3s, and 4s in here, this is still just going to give us the first index of the occurrence, even though there are 2 1s in here and 2 3s. So that'll give us the first index of the first occurrence. There also is last index of, which will give us the last occurring index of that element. So if we do this exact same example, but we use last index of instead, that's going to give us the last index instead of the first index. So in this case, the last index of 1 is indice 4, and the last index of 3 is indice 6. That doesn't help us if there are a bunch of 1s. As you can see, all of these ones here, there's no built-in way of getting their index unless we use one of these higher order methods. But that's the basics of indexOf and last indexOf. Let's talk about find. So find, instead of just taking in a value, takes in a function, and it's going to execute that function for every element in the array. And the first element that returns true for that function, you'll get back that specific element. So for example, if we were to say numbers.find, we pass in a function. So we pass in a function where we're going to get access to each number, and then we can do something. In this case, I'm just going to say if number is equal to 42, return true. Otherwise, return false. I've written this really longhand. There's a shorter way to write this, but I just wrote it like this to demonstrate what's going to happen here. because it's going to execute this function for every element in this array, and the first one that returns true will get back that element. And in this case, because 42 is not in this array, we just get back undefined because it never returned true. It always returned false, so we get back undefined. However, if the number 42 was in there, this will just give us back the number 42. Now, this is a really simple comparison. Really, if you're ever doing this, you already know the exact thing that you're looking for, but you could also include more complex logic here. So you could say if number is greater than, let's say, 30. So this will give me the first number in the array that is greater than 30, which in this case is 42. So that's really useful. And you could... yeah, that's useful. Let's move on from there. So there's also find, index, and includes. Actually, I'll put these above find because find is higher order, meaning we pass in a function. Both find, index, and includes, you don't pass in a function. You just pass in a value. So for instance, if we... actually, never mind. Find index is like find, but it gives you back the index. So, one second. If I do this instead, but if I do find index, that actually gives me back 4 because that's the index of the first element that is greater than 30. So these two are similar in that they both take in a function. The first one will just return the first element that matches your case here. This one will return the indice of the element that matches that case. So if we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 42 is indice 4. Cool. So those are similar. Lastly, I'll show you includes, which doesn't take a function. It just takes a value and returns true or false on whether or not that array has that value inside of it. So if I say numbers.includes 1, we get back true. Let's take a quick stretch. So if we say numbers.includes 1, we get back true because this array does include the number 1. Any value that's inside of there will return true, but if we ask it for a number that's not in there, we get back false. So that is also really useful. I guess one thing I didn't show for indexOf and last indexOf is if you try to search for an element that is not in the array, you get back -1. And that's just how that function is written. If you get back -1, you know that it was not found. Same thing for last indexOf. You'll get back -1. Okay. I think that's all the things I want to demonstrate with it. Now let's actually implement these from scratch. So I'm going to write my own indexOf function that behaves in exactly the same way. So let's do it. So we'll write a function called indexOf. It's going to take in an array and then the value that we are searching for the index of. Okay. I need a variable to store the index. Really, all we want to do is iterate over the array, and the moment we find an element that matches this value, we just return that index. So actually, I don't even need a variable. I'm just going to write a for loop to iterate over the array. So say let I equals 0. So we're going to start at the beginning of the array. Well, we're going to go until the end of the array. So while I is less than the length of the array, and on each iteration, we'll increment I by 1. And inside of here, I'll just say if the array at that index is equal to the value that we're searching for, we want to return that index. So if we find the element, return the index. And then if we've made it through the entire array, so if we've searched the entire array and we haven't found it yet, we return -1, just like that. So now if we use this function instead of the built-in one. So I know I'm using the built-in one if I say array.method name, because this is a method that's on the prototype. But if I just say indexOf, now I'm calling my function here. do like this. Great. And so our function takes in the array. In this case, we're searching that same numbers array, and then it takes in the value we're trying to find the index of. And you can see we get back the same values as the original one. So if I say index of with the numbers array and the number 1, this is going to give me back 0 because that's the first occurrence of it. If I do index of with numbers in 3, I get back 2. And if I do index of numbers and some value that's not inside the array, I get back -1. So the internal implementation is fairly simple. You're just iterating until you find the thing. And if you didn't find the thing, return -1. Now, last index of is very similar. We're going to do that one next. So we'll call this last index of. But instead of iterating from the beginning to the end, I'm just going to iterate from the end to the beginning. And that way, the first one I find is the last one because I'm iterating in reverse. So let's change our for loop to go in reverse. So I'll say let I equal to array.length -1. So we're going to start at the end. We're going to go and while I is greater than or equal to 0. And on each iteration, we will subtract 1 from I. So we start at the length, which in this case is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So length 9. So we start at 9 minus 1, which is 8. 8 is going to be the last indice in the array. So we start there. And then we iterate backwards. So we look at the last one. Is it equal to the value that we found? If it's not, we go back around. We decrement I, and so on. And so at this point, we should have it. Let's try it out. So remember, if I'm doing numbers dot last index of, I'm using that built-in one. But if I just want to use my function that I wrote, got to do it like this. And we seem to get back the same answer. So if I say last index of with numbers in 1, I get back 5, just like I did with last index of the array method. Same thing with 3, I get back the indices 7. And 30, we get back -1 because it's not in the array. So that's fun. We've implemented it. And as you can see, it's fairly simple, just like index of. It's iterating over the array in reverse and returning the first indice that we find. What's interesting is we could write our own methods like second to last index of, so like from the end of the array, the second occurrence of that element, and that would help if there were multiple occurrences. I'm not going to implement that though. Let's now implement this includes method, and this one is very similar. We're going to iterate over the array, but now when we find the element, instead of returning the indice, we'll just return true, and then after the iteration, if we haven't found it yet, we just return false. So this one will be very similar. So we'll have a function called includes. It takes in the array and the value that we're searching for. We're going to have a for loop that goes from the beginning of the array. So we'll set I equal to 0, while I is less than array.length. And then increment I by 1 on each iteration. And we'll say if in the array at that indice is equal to the thing that we're searching for, just return true, because we're done. We found it. So we were searching for this value. We found it somewhere. We immediately return true. If we make it through the whole array and we haven't found it yet, we return false. And so that should be it. And let's try it out. We now want to use our function. And it seems to work. So if we call includes with that same numbers array, and we ask it if it has the value 1, we get back true because it does. Same thing with 2, but if we ask it if it has 13, it returns false because that value is not inside of the array. So that's pretty much it for those. Let's move on to find. This gets a little bit trickier because now we're getting a function that we need to execute on every element. But as you can see, the underlying implementation of each one of these things is fairly simple. You're really just iterating the array. It's nothing complex. And find is similar, except we got to call functions and such, which is a little more complex. Okay, so we're going to create a function called find that takes in an array, and it takes in, we'll call it the callback, the CB. Actually, I'm not even going to abbreviate it. I'm going to call it callback. Because as you can see with numbers.find, we are passing in this thing. That thing right there is our function. This thing, that is our function. And really, we could store it in a variable. So like this could be the is greater than 30 function, right? So if we put that in a variable, this would work exactly the same way. So we're trying to find the first number that is greater than 30 in the numbers array. That gives us back 42. But this is essentially, this is our callback. This is the function that we need to call for every element. And under the hood, that's what it's doing with every element in the array. It's invoking that for us on every element in the array. And so that's what we want. So we need to iterate over the array just like before. So let I equal 0 while I is equal, so while I is less than the array length, increment I by 1 each time. We then need to invoke this callback on this given element in the array. So that's what this is what that looks like. So right, we're passing in the callback. We call that callback with that element at that indice in the array. That's going to give us back some result. And the way find works is the first one that returns true, we return the element at that indice. So right here we can say if the callback resulted in true, we want to return the array at that index. Like that. And then if it doesn't return true ever, so let's do number greater than 50. If this never returns true, ultimately it returns undefined. So right here we can just do return undefined. And actually we don't really even need to write this because by default functions return, if the function doesn't return anything, it returns undefined. So we could technically leave that off. But here we essentially have it. So iterate over the array, call our callback on every element in the array. We get the result of that callback, and if the result of that callback is truthy, then return that element in the array. So now if I were to try this with my new find method, so if I find numbers and then pass in this is greater than 30 function, we get back 42. And so I showed this with putting the function in a separate variable just to make it clear as to what's happening, but this callback can be any function. It doesn't have to be a function that was stored in a variable. We could do the same thing, but we could pass our own function in here that gets access to the number and returns number greater than 30 like that. And this is actually the shorthand way of writing this function. But as you can see, it works both ways because we're giving it a callback and then we're calling that callback on every element in the array. Great. Now, if you've made it this far in the video and you're putting up with my code so far, you may have been yelling at the screen saying, why aren't you checking the types of the variables and stuff like that? And under the hood, it most definitely is. So one thing you could do in each of these methods is first you want to make sure that the array that's being passed in actually is an array. You might make sure that multiple arguments are passed in. There's a lot of extra stuff that happens under the hood as well, just like error checking and stuff like that. The other thing you might be yelling at the screen about is the fact that find, the callback that you pass in, actually can have multiple arguments. So you get the element in the array, you also get the index, and then you also get the array itself. In our case, we're not using those, but if we wanted our find implementation to be a little bit closer to what happens under the hood, we could pass in the index and we could pass in the array as well. But as you can see, those aren't being used in either case. Great. Great. Lastly, we'll take a look here at find index. And it's going to be very similar. So we have, I'm just going to copy and paste because there's only one thing that needs to change, right? So in the case of find, we're returning the element at that index if the callback returned true. In the case of find index, we're returning the index if that element if the callback with that element returned true. So the only difference between find and find index is we're actually returning the index instead of the element itself. But this should work in exactly the same way. So if we log out find index and we pass in numbers and we pass in this is greater than 30 function, it gives us back the indice 4, which is exactly what we would expect. And I can put that in there now. I'm curious, though, what does find index return if everything returns false? -1. We didn't account for that. So in this case, if we make it all the way to the end and we didn't find it, we do need to return -1, like that. Cool, and we can test that out here. So if we say find the index for the first element that returns true, well, no element returns true. Every single one returns false, so we get back -1. If we wanted to say, like, where the first element that's greater than 50, we get back -1 because no element in that array is greater than 50. Great. So that's it for implementing the functions, and I think that's all I want to say about it. I'm going to open up chat really quick, so if anybody has any outstanding comments or questions about what we just did, I can try answering them. I'm using the wrong command. It's focus stop. Focus end? That's the one. I'm going to take a quick stretch. Ryan says, my comment is you're outstanding. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate that. Sobig says, great explanation. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I guess, did Jorge ask about overriding? Oh, yeah. So they asked, what if you add those functions to array.prototype? You can actually overwrite them. Yeah, that's what would happen. And really, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this because it's bad practice. Because if someone else's code is depending on that built-in method and you overwrote it, they may not be expecting that. But it actually is possible. So if I were to say array.prototype.find or .indexOf equals indexOf, that would actually do it because of the way I implemented this. But wait, did it not? I think I've broken it. And yeah, that is how we create polyfills. So if and so for example, the at method was recently added to arrays, but it may not exist everywhere. So if we look at array at, this is a new method on arrays. And if you were working in a JavaScript environment that didn't support this yet, it could actually be polyfilled. So someone could go in and say array.prototype.at equals their own definition of the function, and that would essentially polyfill the method. Shouldn't params array and value be switched? No, because of the way the this keyword works. I think I broke Quaco when I did that, though. Let me stop it really quick. This keyword, this. Yes, this. Yeah, for whatever reason, whenever I override it, Okay, that seems to be fine. And then now, if I... Oh no, it just returns -1 for everything. Well, I would say this isn't why you override it, but as you can see, now when I call numbers.indexOf, it's just broken because it's just returning -1 for everything. There would be a way to write it correctly, because technically, I believe you get like the context or the this keyword. Oh, actually, no, you don't. You don't. Yeah. Never mind. You couldn't do this. You'd have to rewrite it. And let me show you the right way to rewrite it. So I would need a function that just takes in the value. And now we don't have access to array. We have to use the this keyword, like this. Like this. Quokka really doesn't like this when I override things. This. Yeah, okay. So this should do it. So now if I call numbers.indexOf, we get back the expected values, but because I've overridden it right here, it's calling my function instead of the built-in function. But basically, don't do this, because if the function you override it with has behavior that's not the same as the original one, then other people in your code base may not expect that, and we want to avoid that. So you should really never override it like this. Yeah, I mean, you could prank your coworkers. It's a way to create jokes on the job. Like if you really want to drive somebody crazy, you could override this as a function that just always returns -1. You override it somewhere else in the code, and then now they're calling this function, and it just broke everything, and they don't know why. But you could add a comment that says, to do. Remove this after April Fools. Okay, any other questions before we end this segment? But that's it for this video. Hopefully I have what's the word? I've pulled back the curtain a little bit on what's happening inside of JavaScript, because when you do use methods like this, and again, Quokka is broken. Let's start it over so we can see the right results. If you do use methods like this behind the scenes, there has to be code somewhere that's doing this, and it's pretty much just a for loop. And these higher order methods like find and find index are also kind of just for loops, but you've got this special callback stuff happening behind the scenes. All right, King Coding is asking about filter. In a future video, we'll talk about filter, but I will say it's implemented in a very similar way to find, except filter returns an array with all of the elements where their callback function returned true. So really, it's this with some array variable that you push into, and then at the end you return that array. So it's somewhat similar. All right, that's it. That's all. Thank you for watching this video, and come hang out on Twitch. You can ask questions live like all of these people did, and I appreciate you. See you later. Goofer, you've got it. That's exactly what it would be. And now that the video is over, I'll actually just show it to you, because it's pretty simple. So let's say we called this filter, and then we want the filtered results. That starts off as an empty array, and we call the callback just like we would, but instead of returning here, we say if the result of the callback was truthy, then filter results, we're going to push in the element at that index, and then after the entire iteration, we just return the filtered results. So this is a filter implementation, and it should work. So if I say filter with numbers, and we want all numbers that are greater than, where n is greater than 10, that should just give us back 42, I think. But yeah, so now we get an array with length with the number 42 inside of it. But if I say all numbers that are greater than 1, then I get an array with every number that was greater than 1, every number greater than 2, every number greater than 3. So it's very similar, except behind the scenes we're just pushing into an array. Sort would be done like this. Let me show you. Sort. We get the array, implement a sorting algorithm. Done. That's how you do it. I'm not going to do it, but you could look up pretty much any sorting algorithm and implement it there. And I do believe, yeah, sort is in place. Sort in place. You can look at the any JavaScript engine that's open source. You can see what sort algorithm they actually implement. I forget if it's like heap sort or selection sort, but what's nice is we don't have to care. We just is it quick sort, heap sort, quick sort. Regardless, but that's why we as JavaScript developers don't have to care about it, because it's just hand wavy, sort the thing and then get back the sorted array. Yeah, I mean, and this is the comparison function. We give it the comparison function, but yeah. And Limotes, thank you for that resub. I'm gonna thank any supports that came in during that video. All right, well that was fun. If you learned anything in the past 20 minutes, type 1 in chat. Nice. Glad to hear it. Sweet. I'm happy that you learned something. Slice Rabbit, thank you for the 6-month resub. Limotes with the 22 months, and Finder the Icewing with the 11 months. And thank you, Goofer. I appreciate it. All right, we're gonna play Clash of Code now. Let's see how long I've been live. Almost an hour. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna take a let's say 5-minute break. But when I come back, we are going to play Clash of Code. So this is a fun game on the Coding Game website where we will all get put into a lobby. A timer will get put up, and we're gonna do fastest mode first. So basically, we'll be presented with a problem. I'll let you use any programming language in this list. So even if you don't use JavaScript at home, you can pick your favorite language, and the first person to solve it gets first place, and so on from there. So I am gonna take a 5-minute break, but when I come back, we're gonna do this. And so if anybody that wants to compete can compete. And if you want to sign up in the meantime, you can go to the website there. So when I come back, I'll start this lobby. I'll paste the link in the chat, and then you can join. And Slice Rabbit is saying, this one had me so nervous. Do you mean the Clash of Code or the array stuff? Yeah, no worries if you can't compete. It'll be fun to just watch. And Cog07, thank you very much for the Prime sub. I mean, that is true, Finder. So some of these languages, like Python or Ruby, have a lot of built-in functions. So sometimes it's easier for them to solve the problem faster because they don't have to write as much code. But it's not always that way, because a lot of times you can't just use built-in methods. Oh, I see, Slice Rabbit. Yeah, I mean, once you see that clock ticking, you definitely the nerves will get fired up, right? Because you're trying to code against the clock. But this is a good practice if you get nervous in environments like that and you want to not do that anymore. I guess this would be similar to a coding interview, but pretty often in a coding interview, it's not about how fast you do it. It's really all about your process. So I don't know. I'm gonna put a. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm gonna leave this screen up so that people know they should sign up while I'm away. But I will be back in 5 minutes. Stay awesome. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Hello? I'm back. Hi. Cool. Let's let's play some Clash of Code. Cool. So, yeah, if you don't know about this website, it is Coding Game. And actually, let me update my title because it'll show up on their website as I'm live streaming. Coding Game Clash of Code. Great. Cool. So if you go to this website, codinggame.com, you can sign up. And what I'm about to do is create a private lobby. So I'm going to make a lobby where we will all be presented with a problem at the same time. And then the first one to solve it wins, gets first place. Winning doesn't matter. I'm gonna try to go fast, but I'm also just gonna do my best to actually solve the problem. You'll have at most 15 minutes to solve the problem. I would say for anybody that is gonna participate in this, don't worry about being the fastest. Just do your best. Just try. Solving the problem is great. If you can do it, regardless of how long it took you, that's awesome. And the She-Boss, thank you so much. Thank you very much for the 5 gifted. Appreciate you. And congrats to all the people. Cool. Also, can we get some hearts in the chat for the She-Boss? Because they every single time I go live, they gift subs, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, let's go. So I'm gonna choose fastest mode. For anybody that wants to join, you'll be able to use any one of the programming languages listed here. I'm probably going to use JavaScript for this first one, and I'll say this. I will use some other language besides JavaScript today. So you'll see me kind of like learn and use a language all at the same time. All right, here we go. So I'm going to share this link in the chat. Cool. And if anybody else comes in, you can do !current clash, and that'll post the link. But you can click on that link and join in. And up to 100 people can join. I'll let the timer run down just so as many people can join as they want to. Yeah. But now my my avatar is out of date because I have no hair. I used to have like a top knot thing. Yeah. Struggle with C++. Maybe I'll do it with C or C++. That could be interesting. It's weird to do it in fastest mode because I would have to look a lot of things up. I mean, I would do my best to write C and C++ looking code, but I'd still have to look things up just to make sure that I get it. Yeah. I mean, the last time I had cut my hair was probably a year ago. So yeah. Oh no, I just cut it for a fresh start. That's my reason. I might. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think I've ever written Rust, so that would be pretty difficult. But let's say every other clash after this one, I'm gonna try it in a different programming language. Yeah. Yeah. The app I use for breaks is called Timeout. It's only for Mac. But there are some other ones out there that work for like Windows and Linux. Yeah, if you look at the frequently asked questions, I think I link some for other operating systems because people have asked about it. Yeah, Stretchly is a cross-platform one that people have recommended. Have I ever programmed in Vim? Like, the way you asked that question, my immediate thought was like Vim as a programming language, but what I think you mean is, have I ever used Vim? I've used Vim, not extensively, and I didn't really ever memorize shortcuts and stuff like that. So no, I've never used Vim as my primary editor. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and launch it. There's still 2 minutes left, so if anybody comes in, you should be able to do current clash, and you can likely still join. But once I launch this, you'll have 15-minute timer starts. So here we go. And Shirkum, hello. Thank you for the compliment. But yeah, no hair. All right, here we go. So in the top left is the countdown timer. We have 14 minutes and 50 seconds left. We'll see the problem description here, and then the right-hand side is where we write our code. This wants us to output the reverse of the Fibonacci function. What does that even mean? Let's try to figure it out. Okay, so Fibonacci of x is equal to y, all right, with Fibonacci of 1 equal to Fibonacci of 2 equal to 1. Fibonacci of n is equal to Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2. So it wants us to find the previous Fibonacci number. So given 13, the Fibonacci number before 13 is 7, because 13 is 7 plus 6. This is dumb. I'm going to do it, but just know this is dumb. But I think that's what it's asking for is, and thank you, Murdoch. Thank you for the 1,000. That's a lot of bits. Thank you for the bits. Much appreciated. Find the Fibonacci number that comes before the given Fibonacci number. That's what I'm going to do. So, this is dumb. So Fibonacci starts off as at 1. I'm going to say while current is less than y. So our first Fibonacci is 1, and then our next is, no, our first is 0. And our next is 1. So it's 0 and 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. So 1 is going to be the next one. 1 plus 1 is 2. So 2 is the next one. 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3 is the next one. 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 is the next. And we want, well, the current is less than the one that we're trying to get up to. Because once we get up to it, we return current. So current gets set to next, And next gets set to current plus next. Is that how that works? Oh, it is? Okay, I guess I'm wrong then. Yeah, I don't know what the reverse of the Fibonacci function is then. So yeah, I was totally wrong. Seven is not even in the Fibonacci sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I mean, there are 7 numbers before 13. Where does the number 7 even come from? Is it the 7th indice? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I'm going to go with that. I think that makes sense, Oxydao. Okay. So index 0, and while current is less than y, because when current is equal to y, we have the index. Let me make sure that I have the right Fibonacci numbers. So current is 0, next is 1. So we're here. And then we say current is 1, and next is 0 plus 1, which is 1. Great. And then we're here. And then current is 1, and next... Yeah, well, that's if I want to write a recursive function, bro. But it is funny that you gave me the definition of Fibonacci, which is given in the problem description. It's there. I'm going to log current and next. Let's see what we get. So 1 and 2, 2 and 4, 4 and 8, 8 and 16. Zero, 1, 1 and 2. So we want 0, 1, 1 and 1. Zero, 1, 1, 2, 3. Next plus temp. Fibonacci of 1 equals Fibonacci of 2, which equals to 1. What does that even mean? There should be a point where current is 1 and next is 1. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, that's what this should be. Currently, the Fibonacci equation solves for f of n. Rework it to solve for n. But what if I don't want to do it recursively? What if I just want to write a while loop? What's up, Hex? Yeah, I got a haircut. Okay, 0 and 1. Current. And then next. Is current plus next. There we go. Whew. Yeah, I've done it. I mixed up my temps here. But now you can see that my my current and next values are logging correctly. So 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 5, 5, 8, 8, 13. So now that I've got the right Fibonacci numbers, we're basically just calculating the index of the value that they passed in y, and we've done it. We got all the test cases to pass. So I solved it without recursion, and we figured out what they wanted kind of just by looking at it, but really I think I got it from the chat that this should be the indice. I don't know. I'm going to submit it as is. Let's see if I get 100%. So the interesting thing is after you submit it, it'll run it against other test cases that you may not have accounted for, but I did enough. I did enough to get 100%. And anyone that's submitted already, click on share my code, and I'll take a look at your solution. You can join the next one, Sumit. I mean, you might be able to... if you click this link, you might be able to join, because I think there's still like 4 minutes left. But I'm going to do another one after this that you'll be able to join. But let's see what people have done so far. So there's our good friend Thite. They're always showing up in our classes, but they did it in 1 minute and 51 seconds in Python. Let's see how they did it. Okay, so read in the input, easy enough. We have A, B, and I. So I'm guessing this is like I had current, next, and indice. But they start all of theirs at 1. So they didn't start at 0 like I did. Yeah, they were done when I was done reading the problem. What's up, Pablo? No, I just shaved my face and I shaved my head because I felt like having a fresh start. Recursion would work. You would just keep track of the indice. I guess you could keep track of the indice as an extra argument to the recursive function. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so while the number we're looking for is not equal to while the current number is not equal to the number we're looking for, iterate, increment the indice. Why do we leave A as it is? Is this how we do variables? Oh, you know what? I could have done the destructuring variable swap. And Pablo, thank you for the Prime sub. 20 months. Appreciate it. To keep track of the index in a recursive function? Just an extra argument. Like each call to the recursive function passes one more argument that's incremented by 1 every time. And then when you find the number, you return the index. A equals B, B equals A plus B. So that's how we we swap variables in Python. A equals B, B equals A plus B. It's weird. It's crazy. but they've done it. They're swapping the variables without a temp variable, which is fun. And then they print the indices. So Thite had the exact same solution as me. They just did it 10 minutes faster. Yeah, and this is what I could have written in JavaScript if I wanted to do the same thing. What if we wanted to do that without arguments on the recursive function? You could have a global variable or a variable outside of the recursive function, but that would work for this scenario because we're not trying to write like a pure function that doesn't have outside state. That's the only ways I can think of to keep track of it. Yeah. Oh, I see. So this is multiple assignment? It looks like it's written differently though. I thought this was more like you could put this in JavaScript and I believe it would work in the same way. We have multiple assignment in JavaScript. I don't know. Great work, Thite. Thank you for submitting. All right, Kate Spicer did it in 2 minutes in JavaScript. Let's see. They did write a recursive function. And they said, if x is less than 3, return 1. So that handles those two. And then they have, what are they storing in here? What is me? Previous answer. So I guess this is kind of like memoizing. They're storing previous results in an object. M is for memo. Cool. Yeah, so that you memoize it. And memoize is how babies say memorize. No, memoization is a functional programming technique. But so they're essentially keeping track of previous results in this little object here. So if they have calculated that result before, just return that result. Great. Otherwise, that result is going to be the definition of the Fibonacci sequence, which is Fibonacci of the previous two values added together. So this is interesting because if you technically called, oh, never mind. You actually are just calculating it. Yeah. So calculate it equal to the previous two values, and then those values get stored. Great. And then in this scenario, they kind of just brute forced it. So they calculated Fibonacci for every value from Fibonacci starting at 1 all the way to 100. And then after they've calculated all of those, they find the one at the white index. Crazy. Great work. Great work, Kate Spicer. Oh, so this didn't work in JavaScript American 2050? How do we... There's a way to do this, isn't there? Or maybe people just comma separated multiple assignments? Yeah, I think that's... You actually have to do let A equal 2, comma B equals 6. That would work. But that's not the same thing. That's just the comma operator, not multiple assignment. And Pablo says, regarding Code Golf, I posted a reactive system in a single tweet a while ago, and it was super cool to make. Nice. In a minute, we're going to do shortest solution wins, which is Code Golf. So that'll be fun to see how low we can get it. And what's up, Mateus, who says, which VPN do I recommend or which one do I use? I'm not sponsored by any VPN company, and I don't want to be sponsored by any VPN company. So I did some research as to what is the most privacy-respecting VPN, and I went with that. And I've been with them for a few years now. That's my answer to that. So do your own research and find a VPN that works right for what you want to do. Yeah. Acid Spark says, the way I finally understood memoization was someone explained it as a post-it where you write all the results you've already figured out and check to see if you've already figured out that answer before you compute it again. Yeah, that's it. You're basically, you're keeping track of all your previous results so you don't have to do extra work. Yeah. Vue or React for a 2D game with API? Neither. Don't use a front-end framework for a game. Find a game library, or a game engine. Because the way the virtual DOM updates and stuff like that is just not performant with a game loop where you're updating like thousands of times a second. What's up, Max? Yeah, so I said I didn't say any VPN. I said find a VPN that works for you is my answer. Yeah, and I do recommend that video by Tom Scott as well. It's actually kind of hilarious because I think he wanted to get the video sponsored by a VPN. And so the name of the video is like this video is sponsored by blank VPN. I'll link it because it's a really good video. Yeah. But he just talks about VPNs, what they are, what they actually do. Yeah. I will say, like, I use a VPN when I'm streaming because, as you can see, every now and then I'll, like, click random links in chat. I mostly only click links from people that I know, and I know they're not trying to, like, reveal my real IP address or anything like that. But that's really only the main time I use a VPN. I don't use public Wi-Fi. Like, if I'm out and about, I'm not going to connect to a coffee shop Wi-Fi. I'll just use my data plan. So yeah. What's up, Wavo? Yeah. All right, let's do another one. Actually, I'll look at one more solution. We'll look at how Anonymous did it in Python in 2 minutes. Okay, so we have our initialization. We have like current, next, and our indice or index. For x in range, so I believe in Python, this is just going to... so range of y is going to give us an array that goes from 0 up to that value. Is that accurate? Let's look up Python range. What does it do? Creates a sequence of numbers from 0 to the given value non-inclusive. So if we say range of y, that's going to give us a list from 0 up to the number -1. Okay, so for every number in the list of numbers from 0 up to this number -1, if our current value is equal to the value that we're searching for, print that value, that indice plus 1. Otherwise, do the Fibonacci thing where we say current is equal to next, and next is equal to current. No, current is equal to next. Current plus next. Whatever the assignment was before. It's hard to follow with these small variable names. F0, F1. Cool. Great work. I'm just curious how Sirius Hill did it in Python. Or not Python, in Perl. Because I don't really see much Perl. Let's see. They did it similar to how I did it. So just a loop. I guess they are keeping track of current and next in a tuple or tuple. Yeah, and then the way you store in that tuple is using push. Huh. Weird. Okay. Let's do another one. And I'll catch up on chat. Yeah. Yeah, I will be streaming full time this week. I just don't have the schedule released yet. So, a quick plug for my email list. If you want to know when I'm going to be live this week, sign up on my mailing list because I'll send out the schedule probably on Sunday. I don't plan on streaming this weekend because, like I said, I am going to Pop Culture Con, formerly known as Comic Con, here in Denver, Colorado. But I probably will stream on Monday. And then you're going to see like 3 or 4 live streams next week. But if you sign up on my mailing list, I'm going to send out the schedule. I'll also post the schedule on Discord once I have it. Yeah. You've been able to look into your future content as a full-time creator. I mean, I've really just been doing planning, and I've been busy with other things. I did a ton of yard work yesterday. I'm kind of exhausted from all the yard work I did yesterday. Yeah. I don't know what that is. Yeah, lots of streams coming. Yeah, the thing is, I feel like we'll have enough time to just do all the things we want to do. I mean, there's usually, I don't know, that's how I feel. A lot of times it doesn't end up working out that way, but we'll see. All right, look at the second JavaScript one from Killer. Let's see. Is this, somebody said they came up with a constant time solution for this? This random, not random, there's a purpose for this number, but this number times math log of n plus this number gives us the indice of that number in the Fibonacci sequence. That's weird. It's 1 plus the square root of, is it square root of 5 divided by 2? I don't even want to know what's happening here. I mean, I guess I am curious, but I'm going to keep moving. We're going to do another Clash of Code. We're going to do fastest, but I am going to choose a programming language that I'm going to choose a programming language that I have never coded in before. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll choose the language, well, I'll put up a poll. So, let's see. The thing is, I have coded in a lot of languages. So I've done C, C#, C++. I don't think I've done Clojure. I've never done D. I have done Dart. I've done very little F#. I've done very little Go. Never done Groovy. I've done a little bit of Haskell, a little bit of Java, a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of Kotlin. I might have written some like configs in Lua. I've done Objective-C. I've never done OCaml. I don't think I've written Pascal. I might have written like 1 or 2 lines of Perl. I've done PHP. I've done Python. I've done Ruby. I've never written Rust. Never done Scala. I've done Swift. I've done TypeScript, and I've done VB.NET. So your choices, I don't think I want to do Clojure. You can vote between Groovy, Rust, and Pascal for what I'm going to be using in this next Clash of Code. Groovy, Pascal, what was the other one? Rust. So vote on what I should use to solve this next one. I usually go to learn X in Y minutes. They have a bunch of different programming languages posted here with like all of the common examples of like how to declare variables and what loops look like and stuff like that. So for example, if we look at Groovy, this is what Groovy looks like. This is how you define variables. These are collections. It looks pretty approachable. It's nothing too crazy. And then if we look at, what was the other one? Pascal. A lot of curly braces in Pascal, apparently. Oh, never mind. Not curly braces. You literally put the word var and then on any number of lines below it is how you would declare a variable. Oh, the class hasn't started. So the lobby is open, but we don't know what the problem we're going to solve is yet. We still have 3 minutes before the problem gets released. Yeah, I don't know, Karium. I would recommend looking at the You Don't Know JavaScript series. The first edition, I think, is free on GitHub, but it just has a lot of good, interesting information about the internals of JavaScript. But it's hard to say about like what skills specifically you're trying to improve, because you're probably writing things that aren't exactly JavaScript. Like you might be working in React, or maybe you're even doing other things, and so more JavaScript might not actually help you. Learning more about the specific framework, whatever you're working in, might help you. So I don't know. I've never heard of Dodrio. And hello, Geralt. Welcome in. You're a programmer too. So here's the thing. I do so much. Look, I got a JavaScript t-shirt. We do so much JavaScript here. But you can't win, because I always get people saying, oh, you should do this language, you should do that language. No matter what we do, we always come back to JavaScript because it's easier. it's I don't know. I really like JavaScript. What's the difference between C and Objective-C? So Objective-C is based on C. So any valid C program is a valid Objective-C program, but Objective-C introduced a bunch of other stuff into the language that is not valid C. I think they had a similar idea when they were creating it, like C++, in that it's more object-oriented. But Objective-C has this weird message passing thing. I don't like it. It's weird. There's a lot of strings in Objective-C, which is why, not why, but one of the major reasons they came out with Swift, so that you don't have to use Objective-C anymore. All right. I'm going to pull up the Rust, learn Rust, learn X and Y minutes. So this is Rust. I'm going to attempt to solve this without... So you'll also see my approach to learning. I learn just enough. I'm not going to go read a book on Rust. I'm not going to go watch a tutorial on Rust. I'm going to specifically Google how to do the things that I want to do in Rust. So let's go. Let's try to do it. Because Rust was the winner of the last poll, I believe. All right, so if you're new to the site, this is your countdown timer. You've got 15 minutes to do the problem. Why? Why more Fibonacci? I hate it. I hate it, but we're going to do it. So this is the problem we have to solve, which has to do with Fibonacci numbers. And then on the right-hand side is where our code goes. I will select Rust. It's a slightly different Fibonacci problem, and what's nice is they've already like written out what the main piece here. The objective of this puzzle is to sum of the Fibonacci numbers. The formula for the Fibonacci sequence is f0 equals 0, f1 equals 1, f of I is equal to fi minus 1 plus fi minus 2. Yeah, okay. So our input is an integer, in, and then next line's x, an index of the members of the Fibonacci sequence. Our output is the sum of all members of the Fibonacci sequence whose index is x. I see. So the first number 3 will tell you how many are coming afterwards. In this case, we have 0, 1, and 2. And so we need to find the index of the Fibonacci number 0. So the 0th index is 0, right? If we're looking at Fibonacci sequence. Index 0 of the Fibonacci sequence is 0. Here, I just want this. So 0 is the first number in our sum. And then we want index 1, which is 1, and then we want index 2, which is 1. And then the sum of those three is 2, so our output is 2. Essentially, we're given indices of the Fibonacci sequence, and we need to sum all of them together. So it's just like the last problem in that we need to find the given number at the given indice, but now we have multiple to calculate, and now we sum them all together. Okay, so I can do this. I don't want to do this, but I can do it. And so yeah, this is going to give us each individual x. I need to write a function that gives me the Fibonacci number at the given index. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to write a function fib at I, and this will take in some variable, some indice I, and then return it. If I'm defining a function, do I have to put the type on the argument? It's just, yeah, so we'd have to say like it's an int32. Like that. Yeah, it looks like they're using int32 a lot of other places too. So I'm writing a function that's going to give us the Fibonacci number at the given indice. So is mute mutable? So let's say I have current is 0 and next is 1 and index is 0. What does mute do? Mutable variable. How do I make an immutable variable without the mute keyword? Okay, so I think I have that right. In that, if I'm declaring a variable that is going to change, I use the mute keyword. In mute. Okay, so I'm gonna solve this exactly the way I did in JavaScript. So I'll just have a while loop. So say while index is less than or equal to I. I don't get a syntax error here, but unnecessary parentheses around the while. That's a good error to have. Okay, cool. So then, is there a fancy way of swapping variables in Rust? Swap two variables. Rust. Oh, they're writing the Fibonacci sequence. Like this. Very interesting. So I want next. So I want current and next. Yeah, I agree. That was a very helpful error message. So current equals next, and next equals current plus next. What's this complaining about? Current, unused variable current. Oh, I don't want to redeclare the variable. I want to modify the existing one. Destructuring assignments are unstable. I don't know. Index plus equals 1. We're going to return current. put my let back, but I thought that creates a new, this is almost like a scoped variable. And then our return type is missing. So how do I write a return type? Like this. So this function returns in 32. But yeah, now it's saying it's an unused variable, and these are unused as well. So I want this is what I want. And then I want something like, let the mutable sum start off as 0, and then we add to the sum with our Fibonacci at I of x, and then we print the sum. We might just have a compiler error here. Oh, I see. Got to convert that number to a string so that I can print it out. Found 4. Expected 2. This is what I want, right? So the temporary variable gets current. Current gets assigned next, and next gets the previous current plus next. Let's make sure we're doing this right. Oh, you know what? Maybe I do need less than instead of less than or equal to. Yeah. Rust is slow. No, it's Rust isn't slow. It's the fact that my code literally has to be like compiled and like run on a remote machine. Okay. It worked for these two. Fine. And then this. Okay, so you know what it is? We need some memoization. Oh, thank you, Jahid, for that. I hope I said your name right. We're dealing with really big numbers here. So instead of int 32, we probably need an int 64 for the sum. How do I tell it that this sum is an int 64? Can I do like I64? And then we'll just make these all int 64s. Oh, wow. I probably should do some memoization here. Or does it even matter? I guess it does, because if I... yeah. It matters, because each time I have to calculate everything all over again. Do we have a map? A dictionary in Rust? The X value won't go past 90? Okay. And they said that over here. So I probably am not doing that much extra calculation. I'm still... Well, how much time do I have left? I have 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, I'm going to figure out how to use a map or a dictionary in Rust. I'm not searching the right things. Rust language map. Okay. Data type. So I want a map that goes from int to int. Hash map? I feel like I'm looking at an alien language right now. Show me an example. This is an iterable map. That is not what I want. That's like array map. That is not what I want. Oh, you're right. I could just push it into an array. Of course. Because the indice of the array, yeah. So if x will never be less than 90, then that means I can create our cache with 91 values in it. What's this complaining about? Can I just declare an array without putting anything in it? Or like, I guess would I have to just do equals empty array like that? Oh, use vec. So, oh yeah, so a vector is more like a list that does not have a defined size. Do I have to assign to it? Can I just create an empty vector? Well, I'm out of time. What's up, Destruin? Thanks for being here. I'm going to submit my solution as is. Mainly because we don't really have to worry about memoization, because we're only ever calculating up to the Fibonacci number, or indice 90. Yeah, that probably is the way to do it, Acid Spark. Like, you just assign it to an empty array. I don't have enough time, though. I'm just going to submit this. See if I've done it. I did it! Nice! Nice. All right, so what did we learn about Rust? We learned how to specify types and return types on a function. So I learned that for arguments to a function, you can define the type like that. You can define the return type like that. What else did I learn? I learned that variables are either mutable or immutable. Mutable variables can change. So you have to put the mut keyword on there to be able to change variables, because if you leave the mut keyword off, then you cannot change their assignment. What else did I learn? I learned that when you're printing values, you basically have to manually convert those values into a string. So that's interesting. And then I learned that you can't just define an empty array or an empty vector. It requires more than what I was putting. So I'd have to figure that out later on. But I learned a little bit of Rust today, so that's fun. Next step, switch to Vim. All right, let's see how Ruskin did it in Python. They did it in Python in 1 minute. That is insane. Well, okay, so calculate literally every Fibonacci number up to the 10,000th Fibonacci number. What's funny is they didn't have to do that, because the problem description said you only need to calculate up to the 90th Fibonacci number. Yeah, exactly. That's my understanding of it forward. So if you're used to JavaScript, if you want a variable that cannot be reassigned, you use the const keyword. And if you want a variable that can be reassigned, you use the let keyword. But in Rust, everything is let. You just put mute on there if you want it to be reassigned. So they calculate literally every Fibonacci number, right? And what is F? Oh, yeah, and then they just put it into the array. That's fun. I didn't realize you could do that in Python. You just do plus equals on an array, and I'm guessing that pushes into the array. Huh. Huh. Okay. Uh, read in the input, and then read in every indice it wants us to find, then just pull that indice from the array and add it up to the sum. Yeah. Does that mean you are muting the var? Mutating, which just means changing the value inside of the variable. Like in my case, I had a sum variable, and sum needed to change because sum was increasing. So sum was mutable because I was changing it on every iteration of reading in that x value. And then current and next were mutable because as I was calculating each Fibonacci value, it was increasing. You were trying to be funny? Well, I'm trying to explain. All right. Let's see how Anonymous did it in Python. We have our starting values. Again, they just calculated 100 Fibonacci values. Obviously I could have done the same. Instead of recalculating the Fibonacci every time, I could have just calculated 90 Fibonacci numbers and then reuse them. I was having an issue just figuring out how to use vectors or arrays, though, or even like a hash map. All right, Kate Spicer did it in JavaScript. Let's see what they got. They did. It's very similar to their last solution. We're just like calculating Fibonacci numbers, but this is interesting. If you didn't know about it in JavaScript, they're using big int. So big int, I believe, is like a 64-bit integer that you can use in JavaScript these days. It hasn't been around forever. It's newer. Let's take a look at it. But you specifically needed that for this problem because you were calculating really big numbers. Is arbitrary precision? Excuse me. Well, regardless, you can store really big numbers because in JavaScript, the number type can only store up to a certain amount, and then it loses precision, or it'll not lose precision. It'll actually just like wrap back around to a negative value. Whereas you can get really big numbers with big int. So that was definitely needed if you wanted to do JavaScript for this problem. Cool. All right, let's see if there's any random language. Let's see. Well, I'm going to look at Paul's and Sirius Hill because Paul did it in Go. Let's see how they did it in Go. So we have ourselves a Fibonacci function that takes in the indice, I'm guessing. We have current and next. And then we're calculating current and next. But it's returning the Fibonacci value. It's not returning the index. Oh, that's what we want, though. Yeah, we're not calculating the index. We're finding the element at that index. So here, while I is less than x. So that will find the element at that index. And then we find the element at that index for every index that we read in. Very cool. And then Sirius Hill did it in Pascal. Whoa, look. This is fun. Okay. Pascal killed my eyes. Oh, it looks fun. And what's up, Not Blue Beast? It's me. I just got a haircut. Yeah. You know what? I'll try to do the next one in Java, the Sheboss, just for you, because I know the Sheboss writes a lot of Java. So yeah, next one I'm going to do in Java. A lot of pre-made boilerplate, but no, I only said whoa just because it's fun to look at. Like I don't get to look at Pascal. So yeah, like all of this is preamble and boilerplate for like imports and stuff like that. And then this is likely just doing the reading in of the inputs. We've got some variable declarations. Yeah, and look at this. So they've created a Fibonacci array of length 90, or values 0 through 90. I'd have to look up what this ... means. It's either the length of the array, or it says fill this array with the values 0 through 90. And then we have our current and next Fibonacci values. I starts at 2 and goes up to 90, and we just start calculating Fibonacci numbers and storing them in the fibs array. Yeah, okay, so it basically pre-populates the array with the values 0 through 90. That's pretty cool. It's like the array fill in JavaScript, but not even, because array fills with a single value. We don't really have a way of doing this in JavaScript. This is like range in Python. You fill the array with a bunch of values. Cool. So read in the inputs, and then start our sum off at 0. I goes up to in. What is in? Where's in coming from? I goes up to n minus 1. Oh, in is the number of inputs we need to read from the line in. That makes sense. So read each one, and we add the sum to the Fibonacci at that given indice. Wow. Great work. Great work. All right, I'm going to do another one in Java. Let's see. Yeah, this will probably be my last clash, but I don't want it to be. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do one more fastest, and I'm going to do it in Java. So we're going to do fastest mode, but I have to solve it with Java, which is a language that I do not use regularly. And I probably haven't used it in 3 years. So we're going to do that. But then when this one is over, we're going to do shortest mode, but you have to use JavaScript. So everyone that competes in the next shortest mode has to use JavaScript. Not this one, though. This one, it's fastest, and you can use whatever you want. And I really hope it's not something about Fibonacci, because the last two that we solved was all about the Fibonacci. Yeah. Yeah, what's up, Emil? I cut my hair, and it looks weird. I feel like, so I shaved my hair, shaved my head, and it looks like my hair is thinning, but I actually have like really thick hair, but I guess just because it's so short, you can see my scalp. I don't know. This is going to be factorial, completely different. Yeah. Yeah. Can I do it in assembly? I don't think they have, do they have an assembly language on here? Assembly language option? It'd be interesting, though, because like assembly itself isn't a language. It's a category of languages, and every assembly language is different depending on the CPU architecture, I believe. That's my understanding of it. Yeah, and what's up, Emil? Thanks for being here. My hair is 20% transparent, exactly. All right, so yeah, if you want to join this class, click that link. And if anybody new comes in and they ask for it, just do ! current clash in the chat, and that'll link them to it. All right, here we go. Well, I'm going to do Java, specifically because the Shibas I know does Java, and it'll be fun. Okay. At first glance, this does not appear to be a Fibonacci problem, so that's good. You have 15 minutes to solve the problem. Here's the description. Your code goes on the right-hand side, and then you can choose your language from the drop-down. And I am going to choose Java. Look at that. Nice and clean. We got our imports. We got our class, public static void main string args. And then our code goes in here. If you remind me, America 2050, that'd be a good place to end the stream. We can go over the new features in ECMAScript 2022, because it's not a lot. I've read an article on it. Okay, here's the problem. To find your lucky number, you simply have to calculate the sum of all the digits of the alphabetic position. 1 for A, 2 for B, 26 for Z, of each character of your name until the sum's length is equal to 1. Uppercase and lowercase letters are treated as the same, and everything that is not in the alphabet will be ignored. So for example, if we're calculating John, we have the indice in the array for each letter. So 10 is J, 15 is O, 8 is H, N is 14. We add those together, we get 47. Because this number has multiple digits, we now add those digits together, which is 11, and that's still more than 1. So we add those two together and we get 2. So the lucky number for John is 2. So we're going to get as input a name, and then we need to output the lucky number. Okay. So what I want to do is I need to figure out how to do this in Java. So in Java, I'm going to have this string name. So this is a string. It's going to have characters in it. I need to find the corresponding character code and then convert that to a value between 1 and 26. And if it's not a character like an alphanumeric character, I ignore it. Though we can look at in all the test examples. Yeah, like in this case, we would ignore the dash. We also need to make everything two lowercase. So, do I get autocomplete? Oh, I do. So look at that. There's the two lowercase built in. That's my first step. And then I guess I probably could just do a replace. Could I do a replace all with a regular expression that says anything that is not A through Z? Replace it with nothing? And I guess how do I write a regular expression in Java? Java, replace all, regular expression. Oh, I pass it in with quotes. That's weird. And then thanks for that. Oh no, go away. Thanks for that, Avi. So what Avi is saying is the not goes inside of the brackets. So anything that is not A through Z. Cool. I am going to system.out.print. How do I print in Java? Java print to console. System.out.print. Okay. Print the name. I just want to make sure that I'm getting this right. Yeah, so John looks good. That name without the dash. The Spanish name is just two lowercase, Carlos. Cool. So this line seems to be doing the right thing. We're basically removing all the special characters. And now I want to look at every character and create the sum for it. So I'm going to create a... I guess I don't need a function yet, but I want my name number. Start off as the empty string. No, I want my name sum. Starts off as 0. This will be an integer. Then we need to iterate over all the characters in the name. Do we have like a for each? We have a split. That would give us an array. I'm just going to write a for loop. Well, I is less than name. Oh, we could do a for of. Thanks, the sheet boss. So for string letter in name. So this gives us every letter. We want letter dot. We want the ASCII code for that specific letter. Java, get ASCII code for character. Oh, you just cast it to an int. You cast the char to an int. So we'll say int char code is that. And for now, I am just going to print out the char code, because I know it's not going to be a value 1 through 26. And actually, I'm going to, beforehand, I'm going to print out the char code for A, because that will be how we map everything. What's this complaining about? Can only iterate over an array or an, yeah, so I would probably just have to say to or dot split. Split it so that I can iterate over it. Why is it complaining? Oh, split on the empty string. Okay. Try again. Oh, is there a 2 char array? That's nice. Are you telling me that A? Oh, I see. I need print line. Print line? I was like, that's a big number. No, okay, so A is 97. So I need to subtract 96 from all of these. So character code minus 96. And then I also could do char with a lowercase c, char. And then people were saying there is a 2 char array, like that. And now the char code is just going to be char code cast to an integer minus 96. Letter is what I called it. All right. And so that gives us 10, 15, 8, 14. Whew, we've done it. We've done it. So now, instead of just printing it out, I'm going to add it to the sum. So we'll say name sum plus equals that. And then we need to get the magic number for the name sum. So we're going to, we'll say return, or do I just system out dot print magic number for that. And then I have to implement this magic number method. So we'll say public static int magic number for some number. Method must return a result of type int. Yeah, that's fine. And so now we'll say if that magic number is less than 10, we're done. So we just return that number. So if the number is less than 10. If the number is less than 10, that means there's only it's 1 digit long because it's 9 or less. But if it isn't, we need to split it up into all of its corresponding digits and then sum them together. So if it wasn't, I can do like number.toString maybe. JavaScript number string.value of. Thank you, King Coding. So that's going to give me a string that has the number inside of it, which will let me split it into the corresponding digits of the number. So I can say something like digits is that. And then I need to sum all of the digits. This is going to be a string array. I guess I could also just do 2-character array. Because each digit is a character. Great. And then now I need to iterate over these digits and sum them together. The sum starts off as 0. So we'll say 4-digit in digits. 3-minute warning. Thank you, Acid Spark. And I guess really I can just write that in line like I did below. So we have each individual digit in the string. We need to convert that digit to a number. Can I do number.valueof? Or not number, it'd probably be like integer. Returns an integer representing the specified int value. Int.parseInt. That's what I want. Digit. Java char to int. Oh yeah, so I don't want ASCII values. Go away. Go away. So it doesn't take, yeah, so that should work. And then we're going to return magic number with the sum. Cool. I think we've done it. We have a minute left. All right, I'm just going to submit. Hopefully it works. Let's see. Yes, I did it. It took me a while. There was a lot of things we had to look up there. I'll review my solution again in just a second. I'm going to wait the 30 seconds to see, to have everyone submit theirs. Yeah. Actually, it is fastest mode, so... Well, I'll still wait. I'll wait. Yeah, Kate did it in 1 minute and 37 seconds. They're really good. I think they've completed almost every single one of these in, like almost under 2 minutes. Which is funny because you're still here, because I mean, it takes you 2 minutes, and then it takes me 15 minutes, and then I spend another 10 minutes reviewing other people's solutions. So I think thanks for sticking around, Kate Spicer. Appreciate you. Oh no, did I lose the results? I think I just lost the results. Can I click the link and get back to the results? Thank goodness. Okay, let's see how Kate did it. We're missing syntax highlighting for some reason. Well, and thank you, Murdoch, for the gift. Much appreciated. Okay, so we don't have syntax highlighting, but we'll do our best to read the solutions anyways. So read in the line. For every character in the name that we just read in, if that character is a character A through Z, case insensitive, we then get the specific ASCII code and subtract 64. Cool. That works, but here's the issue. If the letter was uppercase and we got the character code for the uppercase letter, that would not work. So how? Oh, I see. You uppercase it. You uppercase the whole thing. That makes sense. So you uppercase it first, so that way you can convert from there. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because what I got hung up on was, well, we're testing case insensitive, but if we're not testing, if we're testing case insensitive, but we didn't convert it, then that would have an issue. But because you converted everything to begin with, that works. Cool. So grab the letter in the alphabet for each letter and add it together. And if we convert that into a string and its length isn't 1, meaning it's not a single digit, we need to add it all together. And they just did that with eval, which normally you wouldn't do, but in a clash of code, like, why not? So basically, they convert a multi-digit number into an equation of addition. So split the string so that each digit is its own string in an array, and then join that array back together into a string separated by spaces. You now have basically an equation that adds all of the characters together, and then we run that through eval, which will actually add all of the characters together, which is great. Yeah. Very clever, yeah. All right, an anonymous 42 did it in Ruby. Let's look at some Ruby. Wow, okay. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on here. So we've got DD. Is that how you read in? I'm assuming that's how you read in the input, because we're saying read in the input and then only match or replace anything that's not a word with spaces, and then sum up all of those characters. That's insane. All in one line. Yeah, well, it'll tell me, DJ Ahid, what does the DD do? Does the DD read line in? Because that's the only thing I can see here that would even like read line in. Yeah, Ruby is wild. It calls the bash command DD. Which in this case returns the input. Well, that's one way to do it. Wow, okay. Yeah, I'll take a look, LeetGeek. So LeetGeek says this is a one-liner that solves a problem like this. I mean, it's a one-liner, but it's really long one line. What are we looking? We want the like digit sum. I don't know. Okay, so that reads in the input. Replace anything that's not A through Z with the empty string, and then just sum it all together. If you can tell me, DJ Ahid, what does this stuff on the end do? We've got some like bitwise operators or something like that. Like, what's going on here? _1 ampersand tilde 96. Modulus? Remove everything outside of... But why do you need to do that? Like, you've... Oh, that's the math that takes the ASCII character code. I see. So you're taking the ASCII character code, turning it into the A through Z number, and then summing those together. It's very hand wavy, but that's what's going on. That's what's going on there. And then if the number of digits is greater than 1, sum them together. So while the number of digits is greater than 1, sum them together. That's also super interesting, is like the fact that you can just do dot sum on, I guess, a string? But at this point, you don't need to convert, because at this point, they are just numbers, so you just add them together. Crazy. Ruby is crazy. Yeah, it's an array of digits. Huh. Okay. And then TrainZug did it in JavaScript in 3 minutes. Let's see what they did. Read in, replace anything that's not A through Z with nothing. We're going to get the character code and subtract 96. Sum those all together. Turn it into a string. If the string length isn't 1, we do a similar thing that Kate Spicer did, which is turn that multi-digit number into a math equation that we can then evaluate. Very cool. This convinced me I'll never touch Ruby with a 10-foot burning uranium pole. But here's the thing, though, right? They did this in 3 lines of code, where, like, if you're writing Ruby on a daily basis, you probably already, like, you're probably familiar with all of these. So, like, it's not that cryptic. It's just very terse, because so many things are built in. Like, the fact that you can just do digits.sum, like, that's not built into JavaScript. You, like, to take an array of, I guess, string numbers, or array of digits, and sum those all together, you'd have to write like a reduce in JavaScript. Yeah, I don't know. This makes me interested in Ruby, though. It is a lot. Like, there's just probably so much built into the language. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's the weirdest part. I agree. This part right here is weird, but everything else is like, makes sense. Reads like a sentence. Okay. That was fun. Thank you all for participating. We're going to do one more, and then I have to go. But for this last one, we're going to code golf it, which means you have to solve it in the shortest number of characters. Which means you could take all 15 minutes to solve this thing, but whoever solves it in the least number of characters wins. And you have to use JavaScript. Well, that's the issue. Like, if I let you use any language you want, Ruby would just win because it's so simple. But in this one, you have to use JavaScript. So, click this link if you'd like to participate. And we'll start it up in a few minutes. TypeScript. Yeah, I mean, some people were talking about that earlier. Like, it would make no sense to use TypeScript in shortest mode because you just have all the type definitions and stuff. Yeah. Cool, yeah, and while I'm waiting for you all to join, we can talk about ECMAScript 20, or at least I'll pull up the info so I can talk about it afterward. Sure, Avi, yeah, share your project. I'll take a look. I was just trying to find, like, what's new in ECMAScript 2022 without actually finding somebody's blog. It's 2021. But I guess I'd just have to read the, I'd have to read the spec. Yeah, I'll just read this person's blog live on stream. That's my plan for that. All right, so Avi worked on this Boozag mod. What does it do? Inspired by this mod manager. What does it do, Avi? I can't really tell from the README. Yeah, that's funny. The README for the project says you need to install PNPM for this, which is actually another cool. Like, if you haven't heard of PNPM, this is NPM that doesn't take up a lot of disk space because it does links of all of your dependencies. So if you have two different projects that depend on the same exact dependencies, they point and link to the same one rather than it being a copy of everyone. Yeah, it uses symlinks instead of copies everywhere. Wait, Mark Zuckerberg is in the... Hey, there he is! Nice. Welcome in, Mark. Thanks for being here. Like a real package manager. Yeah. Okay, so it's a game that has support for modding. And then your tool is a GUI for helping with mods. Nice. Nice. Okay. Let's get into this. Remember, this is shortest mode, so you have up to 15 minutes to solve the problem, but the winner is the one who does it in the least number of characters. And you can only use JavaScript. Here we go. This better not be a Fibonacci problem. Oh yeah, and I'll give you some pointers because comments count, new lines count. You want to remove as much as you want, like semicolons count. Like, so in JavaScript, you don't need semicolons, so remove them. All right, here's our problem. On the right-hand side is the solution. You can only choose JavaScript. It doesn't look like it's a Fibonacci problem, but you can see your code size right here. You want that to be as small as possible. So look, I'll give you a hint. If you remove the comments and the semicolons, we've now taken their example solution down to just 44 characters. So when you click submit, you want this to be the smallest number possible. Okay. Yeah, and I'll give you one more hint. Instead of using console.log, you can use print, which only works on Clash of Code. And if you use print in the web browser, it'll literally try to print the page. But this is just a shorthand or a shortcut to console.log. And what's up, Mr. Demon Wolf? Welcome in. Another member of the Live Coders team. Cool. Oh yeah, that's another one, is use let instead of cons. Or don't use any at all because you actually don't need it in JavaScript. Also, you don't need all these extra spaces, so you can do like that. So what was like 280 characters, we've already brought down to 30 characters. Okay. Oh, nice. You switched from Nginx to Apache. Okay. This is the problem we're trying to solve. For each successive couple of characters, A and B, of the input string, add to the output a string of A times character B. I think I get what they're getting at, but let's see. So the input is a string of digits whose length is always even. So, for example, we have 1, 2. So the output should have 1, 2. And then we have 3, 4. So the output should have 3 4s. I can do this. So we read it in. That gives us, I'm going to call it I for input. And then we want to split it into chunks of 2. What's an easy way to do that? If I wasn't code golfing this, if I wasn't trying to write it in the least number of characters possible, I would just write a for loop that increments by 2, because that's going to give me 2 characters. See you later, Kate Spicer. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all your crafty solutions today. But we'll see you. Oh, they already submitted. So I have to beat 54 characters to beat Kate. But that's my goal. At least less than 54 characters. So yeah, you could do a reduce, but I want to look at 2 characters at a time. So I am gonna write a for loop. Like this. And we'll have I equals 0, I is less than, I'm going to call that S again. S.length, S plus equals 2. So we're incrementing by 2. And that, yeah, so now we're looping and we're looking at 2 characters at a time. The problem description does say that the length is always even, so we should be able to do that. Okay, so we're doing that. We can now look at 2 at a time. So we have the input at I and the input at I plus 1. So we have the number of times to repeat, and then we have the number to repeat. So I'm going to say we have our output that starts as an empty string. And I'm going to say our output, we add to that this string repeated this many times. And then we output the output. Process has timed out. What did I do wrong? Oh, this is I plus equals 2. Yeah, so I've solved it in how many characters? Let's see. Oh. I can't. 72. So I solved it in 72 characters. I have 9 minutes to get this into less characters. Probably not using a for loop. Let's see what using a while loop would get us. While s.length is a thing. And on each iteration, we want to remove the first 2 characters from it. S.splice. We want to remove 2 characters at 0. Let's look at what splice does. Changes the contents of array by removing or replacing existing elements. So if we say splice, start at 0, delete 2, that's going to give us back an array of 2 items. And then we could destructure it to give us back the number of times to repeat and the element that needs to be repeated. And then we do e.repeat to t. It's the exact same number of characters. But did I still do it? No. S.splice is not a function. Oh yeah, because I'd have to split it. It's already too many characters. What's up, Metal Elf? Right. Is there any way that I could shorten this for loop? Can't really do a for loop inside of there, can I? Yeah, what would be a regular expression to extract out every 2 characters? Regex extract every 2 characters. A to Z 2, 2. So I have 6 minutes left. I feel like if I do it with a regular expression, it's kind of like cheating, but let's see. So, what does our input look like? 1, 2, 3, 4. Does split take a regular expression? I guess we would do match. And we wouldn't want A to Z. We just literally want that. So this does it. But not with match. Why is that? Match. Let's see what Slice Rabbit is saying, though. So we want length 2. Why did it find 12 twice? That exec? So we want a word of length 2. And then we execute that on the string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Global? /D? Oh, 2 digits, yeah. What? Why am I getting 12 twice, though? This is the only one that worked for me. I'm gonna try to write it with this one. But I've only got 3 minutes left, and I actually don't know if it's gonna be any shorter. So if we say split the input, so this is going to give us P for pairs, and then we'll say pairs, we're going to map it just because for each is more characters. So for each pair, we'll call it S. Well, actually, we can do it like this. We have the number of times to repeat, and we have the element to repeat. And we have our output. So we have the element to repeat and the number of times to repeat. And I do need parentheses here. So this is less characters. Or is it? Oh, if T. No, this is just T. No, I can't do it. So I'll write it. But I did it wrong. I thought we were getting an array of arrays, but no, we're just getting an array, and we have to skip over the empty ones, and then for each one of those, we still have to split it again to get the left and the right. So if we just call this E for like every element, and then if that element is a thing, then we will say T and E is equal to E dot split. And then we want to say, oh, we increment that by E repeated T times else 0? It's only slightly shorter, but I still have this big long split, so it's technically longer. E is not defined. Oh. Let's call this A. Oh well. I'm gonna use this this solution. Because it's 72 characters. I only have 30 seconds left. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, other people were able to get it in shorter. I couldn't do it. We probably, if we would have done this with like a map or something like that, but the incrementing by 2 characters is what got me. Like I already thought that it would be too many characters if we still did a map and then all that. I mean, people did it in 53. Yeah, they did. All right, let's see how Anonymous did it in 53 characters. They used a regex. I see. So for every, I like this. I like this a lot. So let's explain what's happening here. So they're using the replace function. Replace takes a regular expression, and what this says is for every 2 elements. So you find 2 elements, and then with those 2 elements, run this function. So that's one of the cool things in JavaScript is your regular expression. The replace function can take in a regular expression, but then you can also pass in a callback that gets called on the matching elements. So because this says find, so a dot in a regular expression means match anything. So this says match 2 of anything. So we get 2 elements. Now that is an array of length 2. The one at the first indice is the thing that we're repeating, and then we repeat it the 0th indice times. Great. All right. I'm curious if anybody did it in a shorter number of characters than me and didn't use a regular expression. So let's see. Okay. Exact same thing. And then Kate Spicer did the exact same thing, but I feel like Kate should have won because you actually didn't need to cast this to a number. So Kate had the exact same solution. Except they casted this to a number, which you actually don't need to do because repeat will cast it behind the scenes anyways. So Kate's the real winner here. All right, let's see. Sirius Hill and Trains did it in 55 characters. Yeah, so like match against 2 digits. Same thing. All right, Fight did it in 67 characters. They also used a regular expression, so... and then their regular expression is just longer. And then they mapped. Yeah, like that's the cleverness of the replace with a replacer function. And then I'm just going to assume everyone else copied my answer. So that's why they got it in 72 characters before me. But we'll look at my solution again. I didn't use a regular expression. I just have a loop where I'm looping 2 at a time so that I can look at 2 characters at a time. And then with every 2 characters, I use the built-in string repeat function with the number of times it needs to repeat. One slightly tricky thing I did was I have a variable declaration inside of a function invocation. So like readline doesn't take in any arguments, but I'm passing in some arguments. And that's just like a no-op. But now that I've defined the argument there, I didn't have to, or I've defined the variable there, I didn't have to define that variable on a new line, which saved me 1 character. Yeah. Okay. That was fun. Thank you all for participating. I gotta go. I appreciate you. Oh yeah, and thanks for running the email command. That's the last thing I'm going to tell you before I go. Is please sign up on my mailing list. I mentioned on Sunday I'm going to likely send out an email with my schedule, and we're going to have 3 to 4 streams next week. It's the first week of full-time streaming, so I'm going to go ahead and say there will be a stream on Monday. I don't know what time yet, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So join the mailing list. You'll get an email with my schedule. Also, if you join the Discord, I'm going to post the schedule on there. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out. Have a wonderful weekend. You're great. Join me in a raid. We're going to go on a raid. If you are a sub, you can use this raid message. And if you're not a sub, you can use this raid message. You can also just come up with your own raid message. Did we have any other supports? Oh, we did. I think I missed a lot of these. Murdoch with 1,000 bits and then the 1,500 bits. Thank you so much, Murdoch. Pablo with the 20 months. Percy Down with the sub. Sully with the prime. Eamon with the prime. Leak Geek with the 15 months. Murdoch with the gift. Thank you for that. And Murdoch with another 1,000 bits. That's too many bits, Murdoch. But thank you for all the supports. And we'll see you, Electrothermal. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you all. Oh, those bits literally just came in right now with it. Thank you. Thank you, Murdoch. Cool. Well, like I said, we're going to go on a raid. I don't know who we're going to raid, but whoever we raid, show them lots of love. Drop a follow if you like what they're doing. I don't have time to go over this article, but if you're interested in what's new in ECMAScript 2020, go here. Yeah, and we'll review that on Monday. Too many bits. Wait, is that another thing? Come on, Murdoch. Thank you for the 1,500 more bits. You're too kind. You're too kind. Alrighty, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And this is your daily reminder that stop signs are for stopping. See you later. Thank you.